Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mad Scientist Brewing Beer Education Series. Today's episode, we'll be talking about the effects of alcohol on the body and how to take considerations for drinking responsibly to prevent hurting yourself or others. And for that, I've actually got just some plain water I'm going to be drinking today. So, cheers. I do enjoy water. Yeah, it can be easy to underestimate the effects that even a couple beers can have on the state of mind and ability to make decisions. And you can become impaired without ever realizing it. So, knowing good practices for consuming alcoholic beverages and making a plan when drinking can help to avoid any unnecessary consequences. First, let's discuss the effects of alcohol on the body. Alcohol is a nervous system depressant, which means it will cause your nervous system to slow down and not function as well as it would otherwise. Intoxication is measured by blood alcohol content, or BAC. This is the percentage of alcohol that is making up the whole composition of your blood at any given time. The American Medical Association has set a BAC of 0.04, meaning 0.04% of your blood is made up of pure alcohol, as the definition for impairment of any person. Even at this small concentration, the effects of alcohol in the brain can be observed. Alcohol is absorbed mainly in the small intestine, about 75 to 80% of what is consumed, while only 10 to 20% is absorbed in the stomach. This is due to the large surface area of the small intestine. And it's also why before drinking, if you eat something, it can slow down the effects of the alcohol. While the food is digesting, something called the pyloric valve, which is at the outlet of your stomach, stays shut, and it prevents any alcohol from reaching into the small intestine. This only delays the effect of the intoxication, though, which may peak anywhere from 30 minutes to up to 4 hours after consuming the alcohol, depending on the size of the meal. The body also eliminates alcohol through the liver at a rate of about 1 drink per hour, although this rate is faster in chronic alcoholics, younger people, and those with a higher starting BAC. Body weight and type are a factor of how alcohol affects a person. Heavier people are less affected by a given amount of alcohol, and muscular people are less affected than a person with a lot of fat, because fat doesn't absorb as much alcohol as muscle. Women are generally affected more by the same amount of alcohol than men because they tend to have higher body fat percentage and be smaller in general. There's also the notion of alcohol tolerance, in which the ability to metabolize alcohol in chronic alcoholics can be twice as fast as in regular people. However, regardless of this tolerance, a person's impairment is the same as anyone else when it comes to driving and other motor challenges. As a person's blood alcohol content increases, they move through a series of stages of impairment and intoxication. The first is the subclinical stage, where a person's behavior is nearly normal and could pass as being sober, but there can be slight impairment of attention even at this level. Next is the euphoria stage, in which a person will experience reduced inhibitions, mild euphoria, talkativeness, increased self-confidence, loss of efficiency in finer performance tests, and the beginning of physical sensory motor impairment. Next is the excitement stage, at which point a person will be over the legal limit to drive anywhere in the US. A person experiences emotional instability, loss of critical judgment, impaired perception, memory, and comprehension. Physical effects include decreased sensory response and increased reaction times, reduced visual acuity, peripheral vision, sensory motor incoordination, impaired balance, and drowsiness. Next is the confusion stage. At this level of drunkenness, a person will exhibit disorientation, mental confusion, dizziness, exaggerated emotional states, disturbances of vision and perception of color, form, motion, and dimension. They will also have increased pain threshold and muscle incoordination, a staggering gait, slurred speech, apathy, and lethargy. Next is the stupor stage. At this extreme drunkenness, a person will exhibit general inertia approaching a loss of motor function. They will have a markedly decreased response to stimuli, muscular incoordination, an inability to stand or walk, vomiting, and incontinence. They may fall asleep or into a stupor. This is followed by the coma stage. At this level of alcohol consumption, a person will fall into complete unconsciousness. They will exhibit depressed or completely absent reflexes, a subnormal body temperature, incontinence, and an impairment of circulation and respiration. It is possible to die from respiratory arrest at this BAC. The final stage is death, at which respiratory arrest from alcohol consumption is very likely. Knowing good practices for serving and consuming alcohol responsibly can keep you in the early stages of intoxication and avoid bodily harm to yourself and others. You should be aware of the ABV of the alcoholic beverage you're having. Most bars and restaurants should provide this figure on their drink menu, and any packages purchased at the store will have the ABV listed on the label. Knowing that a double IPA will be around 8% ABV will have a different effect than a session IPA closer to 4%. Another consideration is the size of the glass the drink is served in. Generally, stronger beers should be served in smaller glasses to account for the high ABV, such as a snifter glass for barley wine or imperial stout. Were these styles to be served in a standard pint glass, it could quickly lead to a consumer being overserved and intoxicated from what they perceived as a single drink. Lastly, those in the service industry must be mindful of not overserving consumers who appear intoxicated, and those consuming at home should still be mindful of their rate of drinking to not reach a dangerous level of intoxication. It is easy to lose track of drinks if attending an outdoor event like a beer festival, and in such cases, a designated driver is always a good idea. So that is it for today's episode, which I hope will keep you mindful of overconsumption, whether you are at your local brew pub, at home during a long weekend, or maybe doing 100 shots of beer in 100 minutes on the longest day of the year. No matter how you choose to consume alcohol, always do so responsibly. Until next time, cheers.